Hey, everybody, welcome to Midday Impact. No, Pastor Dunn is not here, but we are here. The women have taken over Midday Impact. It is Women's History Month, and we are in the house. Say hey to the people, ladies. Say hey to the
Good afternoon,
people.
everybody.
Hello, good afternoon.
God bless you.
Good afternoon. And as Pastor Dunn always says, and I can't say it in his voice, but he says, y'all come on in here. Come on in. Lady Dunn, you say it the way he says it.
Y'all come on in here. Come on in. Share, like, come on in.
That's right. Welcome to our Midday Impact. And we have got a treat for you on this afternoon. We've got three fabulous women with us on today. They are all in leadership at FAI. They are all fabulous in their own right. And today, again, it is Women's History Month. And we are talking about a topic that I think is so relevant in today's time. And that topic is collaboration over competition. When we look at the world, when we look at Facebook, when we look at social media, we see all of this competition out there. But we know for a fact that we are better when we collaborate and when we come together. We are stronger together. And I love that scripture. It says how good and how pleasant it is for brethren to dwell together in unity. But y'all, why does it seem to be so difficult for us to be able to come together, especially as women? Why? We know that we sort of got it going on a little bit. We do. But why do we find it so difficult? So that is the topic that we are going to dive in today, is really talking about collaboration over competition. There's Pastor. Hey there, Pastor. We done kicked Pastor Dunn to the curb today. And we done took over the Midday Impact. But he's still here and he's still supporting us. So we appreciate you, Pastor Dunn, for giving us this afternoon to really be here and to explore this topic on today. So I'm just going to throw this out here, y'all, as we think about, again, this collaboration over competition. When you think about that, what's one word that you would use to sort of describe what that looks like? What does it look like to collaborate instead of to compete? And I'm going to start with you, Ashley.
Absolutely. Well, my perspective of collaboration is working together to accomplish a shared goal, to accomplish a shared vision. And that involves servanthood. So when we enter with the mindset of serving our community, doing what's best for the people, we'll be more apt to just put aside our selfish ambitions and to do what's best for the people. And one thing that I often consider as it pertains to collaboration is just remembering that we can move further when we realize that true success is shared success. Because personally, I do not want to do it on my own. We can accomplish more when we bring all of our gifts together, our talents, our creativity. So true success is shared success. And it's important that we have the mindset of servanthood and considering others. So that's what I'll share.
Yeah, that's good. True success is, like you said, is us coming together. And it's that servanthood. It is that servanthood. What say you, Pastor Kim?
Well, you said one word, and my one word is synergy.
Come on.
Listen, and I say synergy because to me, synergy is collaborative action in motion. And so when we all work together and when we go in the same direction toward the same goal, working together in sync and unity, we can accomplish much.
Ooh, I love it. Synergy. That synergy is so important. And when you have that synergy, then it really lends itself. Hey, Nicole, it really lends itself to everybody really pushing into what they do well. If Ashley's doing what she does good, and Lady Dunn's doing what does good, Pastor Kim does, I do. We bring all of those things together.
Yes, yes.
The synergy to get something completely new and different that we would not be able to do on our own. That synergy is so important. It is so important. What say you, Lady Dunn?
My word is concession. And concession means it's a thing that is granted, especially in response to demands, a thing conceded. A synonym are the synonyms are compromise, adjustments, modification, allowance, and exception. So concession is, we know that's a word that's used in politics when you have two different candidates running against each other, and one is coming out ahead, the other one concedes. So if I concede and put to the side what my desire is, my perspective, my opinion is, and relinquish the floor to someone else, there's some humility there. It doesn't have to always be my way. So concession is huge when you have to join together and you do it and not being in competition with each other.
Ooh, that is good. Concession. That means you willingly are giving up what you want for somebody else to have what they want, or to say, hey, I'm just going to allow you to have this. I'm not going to fight against this. I'm not going to try to push my way in it. I'm not going to have my own selfish ambition try to take over. I think about that scripture that says, where there is evil and selfish ambition, every evil thing exists. So to be able to lay that down, but that is not an easy thing to do, because
it's not.
I kind of want my way.
It is not. It is not
my way. So how do you, when you think about that, how do you then begin to do that? How do you begin to move out of that competition more into that collaboration?
I think if you have the end goal in mind and you embrace okay, we're all part of one body and we all have different gifts and talents and anointings and assignments, then the ultimate goal for all of us being here is to upbuild the kingdom. So if I'm putting myself in the forefront and I won't step back, then really, what's the motivation? Is it for me to be pushed and promoted, to be put on a pedestal, or is it for the better good, for the upbuilding of the kingdom?
Yes.
So if I'm focused on me being heard and it being done my way so that I can get a pat on the back, then I'm operating out of the wrong spirit and I'm not focused on the ultimate goal is let thy kingdom come, thy will be done, not my will be done.
That's so good. Like you said, it's about the motivation. That is one of the two separators between collaboration and competition, is the motivation behind it. If I'm motivated for the end, then I'm going to see the synergy, that I'm going to see the collaboration, and I'm going to see all of those pieces come together. But if I'm only worried about me, that's when I then get into that space of competition and begin to look across the aisle and try to figure out and maneuver, how can I make this work for me, instead of being concerned about the greater good. That is so key as we think about collaboration and the importance of collaboration.
Absolutely.
So let's get into this a little bit. Let's take this a little bit deeper. So I'm going to ask you this, Pastor Kim. When have you personally felt that tension between competition and collaboration? When have you sort of felt that and you've had to sort of deal with that?
I would say I was at my school for 13 years at the time, and I got a new principal, a principal of another culture. And because I had been in the community so long, the parents knew me, the people down at City Hall knew me. I had taught brothers, sisters, cousins, everybody. And so I had a trust in the community. I was a person they had allegiance with. Well, this new principal came in and didn't necessarily like the fact that people would bypass her to come to me, but they knew me, they trusted me. And so because of that, there became this tension of competition. And it's like, no, the greater good is the students. We're on the same team. You know, we need to have an alliance. You know, you don't have to like go against me because we're on the same team. But she just couldn't get with that. She just felt like I'm the head, I'm the principal, and they need to come to me.
Wow.
So yeah.
How did you deal with it? What did you do?
Well, pretty much, we just kind of worked our way through that year, and it was amazing because God, one of the parents went to her and told her how much growth she had seen in her child.
Wow.
He had been in my class, and now I'm doing third grade, but she told the principal before this year he couldn't even read. And now my child can read. And I used to tell people that in more affluent schools. See, you look for the gift cards and the presents on your desk at Christmas time. I look to see who made growth and who can read. That's my gift.
Yeah.
Yes.
You know? And so I think that once she realized that I'm not here to take your shine. Trust and believe. I don't want to be nobody's principal at all. At all. I'm here for the kids. And I don't care if it's a kid in kindergarten or fifth grade. I'm here for all of them. And I think once she saw that, and she saw the respect when we had an assembly, how I demanded the parents' attention and respect in that assembly, she was so nervous and she thought she was going to catch it the next day. And she said a parent then came to her and said, that was the best assembly I've ever been to. So I think at that point, she kind of lowered her guard.
Yeah.
I mean, it wasn't totally gone, but at least it diffused it some to the point where we can make it through the school year.
That's it. But do y'all hear that point, y'all? And I want y'all to hear what Pastor Kim did. She didn't get caught up, and she knew this woman was trying to compete with her, but she let her actions speak. So I need somebody to just drop in the chat. Let your actions speak. When you see that there's somebody trying to compete with you and you've already taken down and you're not trying to stay in that space, let your actions speak. And over time, her actions spoke. And that helped to disseminate some of that competition there, because like you said, you kept your eye on the main thing.
Man.
You made the main thing the main thing. What say you, Lady Dunn?
Well, I would say all throughout my life, I mean, you have to think about it from, if you grew up with siblings, you have to vie for position. When you're in school, if you're trying out for a sports team, you got to compete. So it's just, it comes along with just being a human being. And before you get to the place of maturity and shifting, you vie for position, you fight, you compete. But as you get older and once you come into salvation, you shift your focus, because it's not an I focus. You now shift into, what can I do for my brother? What can I do for my sister? How do I, embrace what Christ said? What greater love than for a man to lay down his life for a friend? This one commandment I leave you: love your neighbor as you love yourself. So it's maturity. If that's embraced, then the competition thing, of course, we're human. The competition thing may rise up at times, but as long as you allow maturity to supersede that, then you can then, move into not having the tension between the competition and the collaborating.
That's good. And I think that's such an important point, is there is some natural competition. If you're going out for a job, you got to compete. If there's some things that competition is not always bad. There is some level of competition that we all have to deal with. But I think it's like you said, it's your perspective. And now, is this just a natural competition, or is this getting into an emotional realm where I'm trying to do something that I need to sort of check myself? Natural competition is going to be there. We're going to have things that we have to compete in, and we want to win. There's times you want to win, and we're not saying that that's bad. Drop in the chat, I want to win. If like I'm in a March Madness bracket, I want to win the $250. I want the money. I want it. And it's not bad. But it gets back right. That's right. I want to win. But
Yeah.
we got to check our motives.
Right.
What say you, Ashley? You have an experience?
Absolutely. I'll share my experience in the workplace. Throughout my career, I feel like I've had to deal with competition, especially with working with troubled teens and young adults, because in my roles, it was perceived that this is a man's job. We need someone who is rough, tough, who has a certain background. And while I didn't have all of the experience, I was hired because of my skill, and because of some of the different characteristics that I bring to the table, as well as some of my experience. So in those situations, what I would do is consider the end goal, as we've already said, and I would continue, and I would continue to allow others to see that I didn't want the spotlight. I'm here to serve the students. I want to see each student improve with whatever their situation was. And even this year where I am, by me having that mentality of servanthood and accomplishing the end goal, the number of violence that we've experienced in my community has decreased by half. So it has helped others see, those who perceive me as a competition or a threat, that by her, just being who she is, by her presenting the softness to her, and being firm when I need to, because I perceive myself as a lion and a lamb when I need to be. However, it's all to better the student. So just by me being myself, by me seeking to grow and progress in the areas that I need to grow in, help others see that, she's not here for just selfish ambitions or, just my own personal goals. In a sense, is to better the community. And now some of those who were kind of resistant towards me, they're like, oh, wow, we can glean from her, or she is somebody that we can work with because she's here to help the overall body. So my example is in the workplace. But as Lady Dunn said, I mean, just all throughout my life, I can think of times when I've had to compete. Now, the last thing that I'll say on that, as you mentioned, Sister Katrina, is there's a time for competition and there's a time when it's not, when it's unnecessary. For example, in the church, I do not believe that competition is necessary in the church, because we're here to build the kingdom. We want God's will to be done on earth as it is in heaven. So when I perceive the kingdom of God, it's more so, it's from a perspective of servanthood. What does the people need? What does God want to do for the people through this ministry? And I believe that we're all necessary. We all bring something to the table that will help advance the kingdom of God. So it's not all about my will being done. It's not all about, my perspective, because honestly, I don't believe that I have it all. I love working with you women. I have grown personally, spiritually. Like, this community has edified my life in so many ways. So there's so many benefits to having a mindset of collaboration. And I know that I've said quite a bit. However, yes, I've had experiences with both. However, I'd rather collaborate.
Like she said,
it's so much better. Success is shared success. We can do so much more together.
I love that. And drop it in the chat, a mindset of collaboration, because people, I don't care if you are operating in your gift and in your talent, if you are doing what God has placed in your heart to do, and you're doing it in excellence, people are going to be jealous of that. It just is what it's going to be. And so you got to have, like you said, that mindset of collaboration to be able to push past that. But let me ask y'all this. Like I said, all of you all are in spaces where your light is going to shine. It's going to shine. It's going to shine bright. And when your light is shining bright, somebody's going to be mad. They're going to be mad. So how do you, as a woman of God, how do you deal with that when you are out? Because so many times we see people start to shrink back when they start to get criticism because they're operating in what they know God has called them to do. But people are like, well, look at her. Who does she think she is? But you know you're in the space you're supposed to be in. So how can you encourage women that may be in that space to say, hey, I know I'm doing what God has called me to do, but I'm feeling this hateration around me. How would you encourage them through that moment? I'm gonna throw that to you, Lady Dunn.
I think you have to go back to knowing that you know that you know that this is what God has called you to. And a lot of times, what we're called to do is not something that we would have chosen to do. So there are times when you've in certain situations, in certain callings, you kind of go back and forth with God, like, are you sure? Well, God, and then you have your reasons as to why you're questioning him. But then once you come to the end of that, that back and forth, you are solidified in knowing that this is what God has called me to do.
Mm-hmm.
That's just my lot. I've got to bear this cross. So with that being the place that you have to resolve yourself to, there's a confidence that you get in knowing, like, I've gone to God and tried to lay this thing down. And when you've done that, it's almost like you can't be swayed and you almost aren't impacted by the outward things,
Yes.
the things that people say, the things that people do, the things that happen that could possibly try to throw you off course. You're just anchored and you know that this is what I'm supposed to do. And when the naysayer come, when the negativity comes, it doesn't really have the level of impact on you as it would if it wasn't something that was God given.
That's good. Y'all, put this in the chat. Anchor your confidence in God. Anchor your confidence in what God has called you to do. Because when your confidence is anchored there, it doesn't matter, like Lady Dunn just said, what anybody else says, what anybody else is trying to get you to see or perceive. When your confidence is anchored in Him, then you can move through all of those things. And I promise you, you're going to come out stronger. You're going to come out wiser. You're going to come out better because you have anchored your confidence in Him and what you know He's told you to do. The hate is going to hate. I think it's a song I heard somewhere. It's just what it is. That is just what it's going to be. And you just got to, like you said, anchor yourself.
And can I add one more thing?
Yeah.
Can I add one more thing to that? I can remember a time where the Lord had given me, okay, this is your course. And I had my own inhibitions in walking down that road. And I'm like, okay, Lord, well, I'll do it, but just don't let me run into this. And the very thing that I didn't want to run into, when I say the very thing I didn't want to run into, was what I ran into. And I felt like that was the sandpaper that I needed. Not because sometimes it's not the external things that affect us. It's our own internal. I don't want to feel embarrassed. I don't want to feel ashamed. I don't want something negative to be said about me. So that's something that I need to deal with internally. So what happened was, it was like, okay, God, it's not other people that may hinder me. It can be me that, have my own self doubting, whatever it is that could cause me to feel ashamed about doing this thing. You got to get over yourself sometimes.
Ooh, that's good. You got to get over yourself sometimes. That is so true. We got to deal. They used to say back in the 90s, we got to deal with the enemy. Y'all remember that? You gotta deal with yourself first. You gotta look at yourself. Like you said, some of those things we can actually think and infer that somebody is looking at us some kind of way. And it's us thinking that. It's not even that person. That person is not thinking anything. You can walk past somebody, church, we hear this all the time. Oh, somebody didn't speak to me. Well, she just lost her grandmother. And you think she's mad at you. No, it's not that. We got to deal with ourselves. What say you, Pastor Kim?
Pastor Dunn always gives analogies using basketball. So for me, my analogies come from education and being a teacher. But one of the things that we always did, or not we, I'll say me, in classes is diffuse the bully. So the one who's barking the loudest, the one that's making the most noise, the one bringing the most hateration, that's the one I'm going for to diffuse. And so one of the ways to diffuse a whole lot of nonsense is to find out, what is that person good at? See, I'm in my lane. So let me build you up in your lane.
Very good.
What are you good at? And now I'm going to support you, because now you can get the shine that you want or that you deserve if you're working in the lane God has called you in. Ooh. And so I'm going to diffuse your hateration on me by building up what you got going on in your lane.
Come on now. I love that. Build somebody else. Let's put that in the chat. Build somebody else. We're going to build somebody else up, and that helps to disband and to do away with some of this competition, because they see, I'm here for you. I'm going to help you. And so when you're helping somebody, then they can't see that as competition. They have to see that, oh no, you're diffusing this situation, and I'm going to build you up, and I'm going to help you to be better. And then we're going to work together for this end goal. What say you, Ashley? Go ahead.
The neck, if the head doesn't have a neck, the head can't operate. And so everybody has a vital part to play. And so all we need to do is figure out which part is your part. And then you can do your part. And then once again, the synergy can work, because the hand's doing what it's supposed to do, the head doing what it's supposed to do, and the neck is holding the head, and that's what it's supposed to do. So, there you go.
Figure out your part. Drop it in the chat. Figure out your part, because we all have a part to play in this. Figure out your part, and let me know how I can support you. We're all in this together. We're all here to build each other up together. Ashley, what say you?
Yes. So I believe that my purpose in life is to help people see that we all have a purpose, that God put us on this earth to fulfill his plan for our lives. So when we see that we are all necessary, it helps us see that we don't have to compete with each other. So as we've all said, it's about discovering what you bring to the table and helping grow that gift, that talent, and whatever that characteristic is about that person. So really empowering others. I feel like no matter where I am, it's all about empowering others and helping people live the life that they're created to live. And when I'm in situations where I'm experiencing jealousy or some type of tension, I strive to just proceed in love, confidence, and consistency. So continuing to love, continuing to uplift, continuing to encourage despite the resistance or tension, sometimes helps that person see, like, this isn't working. She's not bringing the same energy. Is it always easy? No. However, I believe that's how God desires for me to proceed. So like I said, that love, consistency.
Repeat those again, Ashley. Yeah, repeat those again. You said love. What were they?
Love, confidence in who I am, and knowing that I'm doing what God wants me to do, and consistency. So continuing to encourage that person, love that person, smile. Like I said, despite the tension, often resolves the issue, or it's just what God wants me to do. That helps me to remain just sane, and calm, because I'm not matching that energy. and it's
Mhm.
all about God's will being done anyway. So it's not an easy thing, as I said, I mentioned. However, I believe that God is going to get the glory through it all, no matter what. So, and we're here
That's
to
good.
empower each other. Like, we are
Yes.
here to empower each other. I will say this over and over: we are better together. And I
Mhm.
choose share success. It's all about God's kingdom being edified and uplifting people, and that doing it that way allows us to have a greater impact.
Yes, that is so good. Love, confidence, and consistency. Consistency, consistency. When you're consistent, it tears down those walls of competition. When you are showing people love, listen, it's by loving kindness I have drawn them. It's the loving kindness that's going to get people to move past the side eye. It's the love. You know what I'm talking about. The side eye. That's how you want to get people to move past that when you operate in those things consistently. That is beautiful.
Mhm.
And as we are, all of us on here, we're mature women, and as we've said, we've gone through all different types of things. I'm sure we've all experienced our own moments of jealousy and competition. We've all had to grow and live through all of those things. So as we are thinking about our next generation of women that are coming up behind us, what is a tidbit, a tip that you would leave for other women as they are navigating through the workplace, as they're navigating through the church space, as they're navigating through families, so that they don't get caught up in competition, but they lean more into collaboration. And I'll start off with one thing that I learned that has stuck with me for years and years through my leadership journey is measure yourself against yourself. I learned that in a leadership training that I went to years ago, is I'm measuring me against me. I'm measuring, am I better today than I was last week? Am I better today than I was last year? Am I doing what I know I'm supposed to do? Am I growing in comparison to where I've been? Because I can't compare myself to Pastor Kim. If I compare myself to Pastor Kim, I will never live up to her because I don't have the same talents. I don't have the same gifts that Lady Dunn has. I don't have the same that Ashley has. I'm going to be frustrated if I'm constantly looking across the aisle to say, well, I can't do it like she does. I can't do children's church like she does. I can't do all of these things. And so I'm always going to be in a state of frustration if I'm trying to measure myself against someone else. So my tidbit, my takeaway is to measure yourself against yourself and make sure that you see where you're growing and where you're progressing. And that will keep you out of that lane of competition with other women. Lady Dunn, what say you?
Now let me ask you to repeat. What are you asking us to share? What's the
I'm
focus?
saying, as we think about the younger women that are coming up behind us, or just women in general, what do you want to see for them? What is your hope for them? What is a tip that you have to share with them so they, when they find themselves in those spaces, they don't get caught up in competition, but they lean more into collaboration.
Um, my this is kind of a running thing for me, and especially now that we are working together to build a women's ministry at FAI, is I think about the scripture, there's more with us than
Mm,
against us.
yes.
We have more in common than the things we don't have in common.
Mm,
All of us are someone's daughter. All of us. We're someone's sister, we're someone's aunt, we're someone's mom, we're someone's friend, a coworker. So if we lean into the things that we have in common
mm,
versus the few little items that may be the points of contention, the points of jealousy, the points of competition, I think we'll find that there's more things to build a foundation on than not. So I think extending grace also,
mhm, Mhm.
So if I come to you, if I come to Ashley, if I come to Pastor Kim, so Pastor Kim, what's it like to be a sister? Like, what are some of the challenges that you've experienced being a younger sister, being an older sister? Like, find points where you can glean from someone else
Mhm.
based on the area that you have some commonality in. And then extending grace. We don't know where people are. We don't know what they've experienced, yesterday that's affecting their today. So I think looking for commonality to build camaraderie, but then also looking to extend some additional grace, some compassion, some empathy, some sympathy. We're all going through something. And
Mhm.
how can I help you? How can I be my brother or my sister's keeper?
That's good. Extend grace and then lean into those areas of commonality because I think that is so true. We have so much more in common that should bring us together than what should divide us. We can't listen to the news and we can't listen to what the world is saying. We got to lean into the truth. And that is the truth is that we have more in common and that should drive us into that collaboration. That's excellent. What say you, Ashley?
Absolutely. Well, Sister Katrina, you said one of mine, and that's not competing with others. However, competing with yourself in a sense, kind of tracking your own growth, because it's not about others. Others have different experiences, different upbringings. So seeing, how you can improve, where was I last year? What can I do differently now to continue to grow? Because here's the thing, we're all getting older. However, everyone doesn't grow. So putting yourself in rooms and in positions to grow is what's necessary. And that connects to being a part of a healthy community. So one of my key words was healthy community. It's important because when we're a part of that community, we're learning from each other. We're discovering our strengths, our weaknesses, and it helps us grow overall. So community, kind of tracking your own personal growth and seeing how we can contribute. And most of all, showing yourself some grace. That's huge. Showing yourself grace. It's not about perfection. It's not about perfection. And this is a term that I use in my career. It's about progress. So, yes, identify that area of growth. However, don't beat yourself up over it. Some things you may not discover how to do it right until you mature. So showing yourself some grace and just having that mentality of growth. And also having an accountability partner, someone who's maybe more experienced than you, to help provide that advice, and that wisdom. That's what helped me in my during my younger adult years. So to sum this up, healthy community, showing yourself some grace, just focusing on that personal growth and not competing with other people. And yes, those are my points.
I love it. And I love what you said. We're all getting older, but we aren't all growing. Growth is a choice. We're going to get older. Now, that birthday is coming, but it's coming. The birthday is coming. The date is set, but we get to choose if we're going to grow or not. And that is so key to being able to move, to have a mindset to collaborate over competing. What say you, Pastor Kim?
I would say to the younger people or anyone coming through the ranks of trying to figure out who they are and where they should be, first of all, seek God. He created you. We are all fearfully, wonderfully made. We are all unique in our own rights. Seek God and see what it is He has called and purposed you to do. Because once you do that, you will get in your own lane. You will develop in your own lane. And then you don't have to worry about what anybody else is doing. Because like I tell people, dealing with me is a full-time job. I don't have time to be dealing with nobody else's stuff, issues, isms, and schisms. It's a full-time job just dealing with me. And so we have to just seek God and stay in our lane. And, I'll take this phrase my brother always says, if there are two of us, one of us is unnecessary. Because
Ooh,
God
that's good.
created you to be you. It don't need to be two of you. You're you, you know? So I'm me. I'm who God created me to be. So I don't need to be Katrina, Ashley, or Lady Tar because I'm me. And one of me is a full-time job. So get what
That's it. That's good right there. That's the truth. One of me is a full
one of
time
me is a full-time
job.
job. That's
It's
it.
a full time job.
If it's two of me, one of us is unnecessary because we're identical.
That's right. And that is so key, Pastor Kim, as we are wrapping it up on today, as we think about collaboration over competition, is really to get into the presence of God and say, show me who I am. Because at the end of the day, when you know who you are and when you are operating in who God has called you to be, then that's going to help to shed off that need for us to feel like we have to compete. It's going to allow us to let other women into our space to learn and to glean and to grow from and to be better. Collaboration always leads in better results. When you look at business, any aspect of life, when you have collaboration there is always a better outcome. So, ladies, I just want to say thank you all so much for jumping on. We did the takeover. Pat, we're gonna have to see what Pastor does. Say we done took over Midday Impact. He done gave us this room to come together. So I appreciate and love each and every one of you all. We'll see you guys tonight, 7 p.m. for Bible study right back here on this platform. We're not taking over Bible study. He didn't give us Bible study. He did not give us Bible study. We just got the midday. But we'll see you all later on tonight. Y'all be blessed and have a wonderful rest of your day.
See you later.
God bless you all.
God bless you all. Blessings.